Hello everybody, and welcome to my 7 steps to thrive, not simply survive, the craziest silly season yet, I think. I'm just gonna wait to see who's jumping on. I'm gonna bring it up on my screen, so I have 2 screens here to chat through. I've got my notes on this one as well, so I wanna make sure I don't miss a beat. I always come very prepared for my masterclasses if you've ever taken a Zero to Thrive program challenge with me. So let's see who is here today. Welcome, welcome. Shout out to where you're from. I'd love to connect with you. I am from sunny Sydney. It does not snow here. It is actually about 30 degrees Celsius here today, so I'm not sure what that looks like in Fahrenheit. But welcome, welcome. Where are we? I see Kathy Ann is here watching. Awesome. Okay, great. Bringing it up. Now I can see. Excellent. Hi, Leslie. Hello, hello. Dark London. I used to live a lot in London when I was a professional ballroom dancer. So our base was mainly the US and the UK, where all our dance teachers were. So I remember how dark it was, and we would always go for the Blackpool annual championships around my birthday in May to Blackpool, and it was the middle of summer or going into summer, and I just remember going, how is this summer? How do the English people do it? We in Australia have a very different summer. Now, I felt that this was perfect timing. I am going to go to a Christmas lunch. I'm going with a client of mine, a personal training client, one of my dearest ones, and I'm dressed up, ready to go right after this masterclass. And so this is just one of the hundreds, I'm over exaggerating, but lots and lots of events that I've had during this crazy season. So I know how it feels to be stressed out and to try and navigate all of the things, especially if you're on a health and weight loss journey, or even somebody like myself who wants maintenance for themselves. It's so hard to navigate. But I have a 7-step framework that I really work through and I use with my clients, and I'm here to share it with you today. If you are somebody watching the replay, just keep on watching. If you are just tuning in but you can't watch the whole thing, the replay will be pinned to the featured section of this group, so right at the top. All right, let's kick in. Hi, Trudy. Hi, Gina. Another Gina. I love what I see. My name is like so familiar. It's lovely, easy to remember. All right, so first of all, I just want to say that a season means a season, as in it's not a forever time. The crazy season brings a lot of anxiety. Who here feels anxiety? Who here feels that they're going to lose all their progress? Who here feels a little bit lost? Who here feels all of the above? Who here feels like they're actually already thriving? Who here feels like you're not sure if you can eat one more mince pie? Let me know. I'd love to read the comments because I want to know where you're at to start with. That's sort of where I'd love to hear first and foremost before we get into step number 1. Because step number 1 is the most crucial as we approach anything that's challenging in our lives. So let's hear it first from you. Where are you at? Are you surviving right now, or are you thriving? And if you're just hanging on by a thread, tell me what your struggles are right now. Stumbling a bit when it gets colder, my appetite seems to pick up. Totally, I get that. In winter, I always tend to eat a little bit more and need more nourishing foods, more comfort foods, that sort of thing. And, you know, but that's year on year. So I have to realize that happens to me. So I need to make more filling, healthier comfort foods that are warming. Way too much chocolate. Now, whether you believe me or not, but I've been having chocolate every single day since probably the beginning of November. I mean, the amount of Ferrero Rochers, they're coming out of my ears now. but I don't have 20 in one sitting. I've spaced it out. It's all about making choices of how to navigate that. And again, I'm gonna share with you my 7 steps today to help you make those choices, because one thing I want to empower you with is that you're in control. You haven't lost the reins, okay? You're Santa, you're holding the reins, the reindeer are navigating the way you want to go, if I'm gonna go that way and do that pun. But we need to stop playing victim role and go, oh my gosh, it's all out of my control, and this one's bringing those foods into the house, and I don't know how to do this, and I don't know how to do this, it's all coming at me and I have no control. But you do. And here's the thing. Step number 1 with my 7 steps to thrive is make the decision. Who said that you need to be in a calorie deficit during the Christmas season? Who said you need to be in maintenance? Who said that you are going to perhaps gain a little bit of weight? Only you. You can decide how you want to approach the season. And when you empower yourself with number 1, making the decision, you take responsibility for yourself to say, you know what? I'm going to be realistic with myself. This season, over the month of December, there are lots of parties. I want to enjoy that. I'm actually not going to be in a calorie deficit. I'm okay to either maintain or gain a little bit of weight, because I know that as soon as January comes, all of those crazy events and all of that stuff tends to simmer down and I can go back to my routine. It's a little bit harder to struggle to do that right now, so I'm okay with being out of routine. Or you can turn around and say, you know what? Weight loss is a goal for me right now and I need to stick to my guns, so I'm going to make some certain decisions around that, and therefore I'm going to find ways to make that happen as well. It is up to you. There is no right or wrong. You see, you're in control. At the end of the day, all of the options are perfect for you as long as it's realistic. So make the decision. Number 1, step number 1, make your decision of how you want to approach it. So that way you control the narrative. You take the reins. You don't let things happen to you. You create the decisions. You make it happen for you, not to you. So for me, for example, I've said I'm happy to put on a little bit of weight, try to maintain as best as I can on my off days, because I know that right now it's not realistic for me to be in a calorie deficit. Hey, I enjoy my food just like everybody else. I want to eat all the chocolate. I want to go to events like the one I'm going to today and enjoy a lovely lavish lunch with my client. And being in a calorie deficit does mean being more disciplined and making those compromises and sacrifices to be a little bit more diligent. And I'm just not willing to do that. But that's okay, I've made that decision. And so what is really important is you making the decision on how you can approach this season. So when you think about what's left of the season, we've got a few more Christmas functions perhaps, you've got other religious functions perhaps, you've got New Year's things happening. I want you to write it down on a piece of paper or stick it on your fridge or whatever works for you. Write down what your goal is this season. Is it to lose weight, maintain? Is it to do the best you can? Is it to gain a little bit of weight and allow yourself to not be in a calorie deficit and enjoy the season? Personally, when my clients ask me what they want to do, I tell them, first of all, and it is up to you. I never try to enforce my things upon somebody else, because then what you'll do is you'll blame that person for making you do that thing. So I always try to empower my clients to take on the decision. But I also want people to be realistic and know that food is fuel, but it's part of our tapestry of our life as well. And part of the holiday season is a lot of really lavish, fun foods that come about that you don't often get, and really lovely occasions where, you know, we kind of feed ourselves silly. But I'm going to move into step number 2 because this ties in perfectly. Step number 2 is don't catastrophize. So number one, you've made the decision and you are going to, and Mickey, I'm going to come back to your comment. I don't need to lose weight, but have low sodium diet due to health issues. Lots of yummy foods this time of year I cannot eat, okay? So I'm gonna come back to you. I wanna answer that one. I'm gonna write this down so I don't miss it. So just so that I remember, because I'm gonna give you some strategies as well. So low sodium diet, so that I don't forget, because the comments move quickly. Okay. So once you've made the decision and you've decided, you know what, this is the head space I'm going to approach the season with. My head space that I recommend to clients is not to be in a calorie deficit. There's so many other times of the year to be in one. This doesn't necessarily have to be the one. Just like when people ask me, you know, should I diet on vacation? I often say, why would you do that? When the vacation is a blip in your year. And here is why step number 2 is just as important. So step number 1, make the decision. Because step number 2, it's time to stop catastrophizing. Christmas is full of events, but when we say, oh my gosh, there are so many things, in reality, there might be 10, 15, 20, and right now with everything that's going on in the world, a lot of things are getting cancelled anyway as well. A lot of people are trying to keep to smaller gatherings, etc. With all the events that start popping up, it seems like you have something every day in the diary, from starting from Halloween or Thanksgiving all the way to the 1st of January. But the key word here is it seems. It seems like you have that, but what is your reality? Because we tend to over-exaggerate and catastrophize all the things that are happening. Now, what I do before the silly season begins is I have a calendar and I write out all of my events that are happening from whenever the silly season starts, whether that's from Halloween or Thanksgiving or whatever that looks like for me. Mine tended to start from about mid-November, and I started writing out when are all my key dates. And I could probably come up with about 15 events, so to speak. Maybe 10 to 15 events. Varying from a lunch, a breakfast catch-up, or a lavish dinner, whatever that looked like, including everything all the way up to my mum's birthday on the 4th of January. So when I see this and I say, okay, this is 10 to 15 times that I'm going to potentially overeat, eat indulgent food, etc., how many times do we have a meal in a year? I'm not going to do the math right now because I don't have a calculator, but I want you to put this into perspective. There are 365 days, there are 52 weeks, and there are 3 meals tends to be in most people's days. And if 10 to 15 of those are going to be a little bit more lavish, plus give or take a few birthdays thrown in there throughout the year, in reality, would you say that that's the majority or the minority of your year? I want you guys to answer me. Because the thing is if you think or seem, as I said, it seems overwhelming, it seems, until you get to the reality and actually write it all out and see it on paper, you'll be able to put things into perspective. And when you catastrophize, you have no perspective. We are blowing things out of proportion. And so I'm waiting for some people to answer me. I want to see, have you actually put that into perspective? How does that look? Is that the minority or is that the majority of your year? People spend 100% of their effort and thought on what is 20% of the year. Can I say this again? Everybody spends the majority of their mindset and stress is about the minority of your year. Where I want you to shift your energy and stop catastrophizing is shifting your energy into focusing on the majority of what you do in your year. So for me, that would be my mum's birthday on Jan 4th. I'm having a really lovely dinner. I'm not going to be counting my calories during that time, but perhaps from Jan 5th, I'm going to go back to my usual routine And I'm going to be focusing from Jan 5th all the way through to November, mid-November, before my next holiday season appears. That's a hell of a lot of time in there to be able to be on track and focus and be consistent. So I did a lot of shifting back in the day when I had weight to lose, I had 50 pounds to lose, and as the years went on, I had this realization that I was focusing always on this stressful time. Oh my gosh, how am I going to do it? I'm going to lose all of my progress. I'm going to gain all of my weight back. All of this Christmas is ruining everything. When in reality, I was spending way too much of my mental energy on the minority of the year. And now I spend all of my energy where it counts most, the majority of the year. So as I said to you when I started this masterclass, this is a season. Seasons come and go. It is a time, a moment in time, and it is a small pocket. The minority of your year is right now. So let's stop catastrophizing and thinking that we are going to lose all of our progress. The only way that you're going to lose all of your progress is if you keep focusing on the minority and not do enough during the year where it counts the most. Okay? So going into 2022, perhaps this is going to be a goal for you and a shift in mindset that by next holiday season, you're going to say, you know what? I've done the work from January to November, and I can relax a little bit over the holiday season because that's what majority of my year consists of. 80-20 rule here, guys. For me, my approach, not only with my food that I eat 80-20, but also the way I approach the life in general. 100% or trying to be 100% perfect. Perfection is the enemy of success. I'll say that all the time. So if you're trying to be perfect all the time, you'll be a master of none. A master of all ends up being a master of none. So thinking about the fact that this is the minority of the year, and now as you approach a new year, try to really target your energy where it matters most, where routine is most. Aside from the odd event throughout the year, as I said, like birthdays and other small holidays, you've got majority of the time to really focus on developing and creating that discipline and routine to create the consistency, because all you need is to be 70 to 80% consistent to truly see results. You don't need to be 100%. It's unrealistic. And when you try to be 100%, you end up being 20% consistent. So going into the new year and going into this season, A, stop catastrophizing, and B, start focusing where your energy lies most in the majority of the year. So I want you guys, as your task, to print out a calendar, and whatever's left of the holiday season, just write down when are all of your events happening, what's going on in your season, and count them. Look at them in reality of what that looks like, and then see that maybe you only have another handful of things where you might feel like you're off track, but what about the rest of the time? So again, it's all about taking back that control. You are in the control seat. You are the passenger driving this reindeer, Santa Claus's carriage, okay? You are the one doing the driving. Not everything else is coming at you. So number one, make the decision. Number two, let's stop catastrophizing. Okay, number three, you've made the decision. You've realized you're going to stop catastrophizing. Now, depending on the decision you make, we've got to strategize. Okay? If you're somebody who said, I'm throwing caution to the wind, I don't care, I'm going to eat everything and anything, there can still be some strategies around that. If you're somebody that says, I actually do want to be in a calorie deficit and I do want to lose weight during this time, then there's going to be strategies around that. And if you're somebody who wants to stay in maintenance phase, for example, there's going to be strategies around that. So just because you've decided doesn't mean that that's where the buck stops. Step number three is critical. Strategies need to be put into place according to your decision. Okay? Let me repeat that again. Strategies need to be put into place according to your decision. Because ultimately, this step is about taking control. Okay? And knowing that you actually have a choice in any scenario that you're in. So again, whatever your decision was, then you've got to create strategies. So for example, coming back to, I think it was Mickey saying she needs to be in a low sodium diet due to health reasons. Now, there's no greater reason and a why factor for your health, than your health, I should say. So your strategy could be, okay, I'm going to try to minimize my portions. I'm only going to have a 1 plate rule where I get everything that I want, but only to fit on 1 plate. Or you're going to say, you know what? I know there's going to be a lot of high sodium foods at this thing, so I'm going to offer to bring my specialty XYZ recipe that I know I've done, which is low in sodium, that I can share with others, but also I get to eat and therefore still help me on my goals. So it's about understanding, like, what are your strategies? What are your boundaries? Create bright lights around certain things. You know, if you've got a buffet, I know that one of my occasions there's going to be a buffet. Now, I'm going to say, okay, I'm allowed 2 rounds of the buffet and 1 plate of desserts, not 3, which I would want. You know what I mean? So it's about saying, okay, I'm going to Christmas Day dinner. There are 10 desserts there. I'm going to choose the top 3 to eat. I'm not going to have all 10. Or if I'm going to have all 10, I'm going to share it with my partner, so that way it works out to be that we have 5 because we've halved everything. It's about creating some strategies and boundaries for yourself according to whatever your goals were, the AKA number 1 step, whatever your decision was. Okay? Now, if you are going to throw caution to the wind with your nutrition and you're going to allow yourself to eat whatever you want and whatever your heart pleases, like myself, then maybe your strategies are, I'm going to maintain my hydration. I'm going to make sure that I drink 2 liters of water every day, and I'm going to maintain trying to keep my step goal to 8 to 12,000. So at least I'm moving my body for my health and I'm keeping up with my hydration goals. Whether I overeat or not, it doesn't matter. I've created some boundaries that at least I am keeping 2 of my habits keep throughout this whole time, okay? It could be something else. It could be, you know what, I'm going to have alcohol at this event, but my boundary or my bright line is that in between every drink, I'm going to have a glass of water. So it's about just figuring out some decisions that will help you keep some control and create some strategies around ways that will help feed into, number 1 step, your decision. Now, it all depends on what your decision is. Again, it depends on, and like I said in the beginning, there is no decision that is right or wrong. Every decision that you have made for yourself is the perfect decision. It's whatever suits you. So there is no right or wrong, doesn't matter what the decision is, but make sure that the strategies are in alignment with those decisions. So your task is, depending on, you know, what your decision has been, I want you to write a list of like 5 to 10 strategies that you're going to put into place so that you've created your own boundaries. It's not up to me to tell you what to do. It's up to you to be the forward thinker and create some boundaries and strategies that will actually feel good to you, not my strategies. My strategies might suck for you. You need to find ways that you feel are going to help you stay on track. So like I said, it could be choosing the best desserts, the top 3 ones. It could be my 1 plate rule where, you know, you can put as much as food as you want on 1 plate, but you're not going to go for seconds. Or it could be you're going to skip the bread basket or the entree and you're going to really indulge in only mains and desserts. It could be, like I said, you're going to have 1 glass of sparkling champagne on arrival instead of 3. But then you're going to have gin and tonics or vodka sodas so that your mixes and your white spirits are a little bit lower in calorie if weight loss or maintenance is a goal for you. It could be, for me, I'm more in the goal of like maintenance and also happy to put on a little bit of weight during this time. But I like to keep a few things regimented and routine, like some daily movement, keeping my hydration goals in check because I tend to drink a lot more alcohol during this time. So at least I'm keeping on track with water, and I like to have at least 1 salad a day. So I've set myself 3 little strategies just during this time and making sure that most of the time I'm sleeping at least 7 to 9 hours so that the whole approach still feeds in. Whether I gain weight or not doesn't matter. I'm still keeping some of those healthy habits in check. I'm not just abandoning it all. Because whether or not I want to lose or gain weight, it's still good for me to drink enough water, to walk a little bit every day, or do some sort of movement, to make sure I get good sleep throughout this time as much as possible, etc., etc. So, step one, make the decision. Once you've made that decision of how you're approaching the festive season, a reminder for step two is not to catastrophize and to realize that it is a season. It is the smallest blip in the year, and where we focus our energy most should be the majority of the year, not this minority. Number three, strategize. And once you've created some strategies, number four, if, for example, you are in a weight loss or even just maintenance phase, you still need to watch the consumption of things. And number four is a great follow-on from the point above, and it's one of my favorites. It's another great strategy, and it is to be a food snob. It's one of my favorite tips to thrive is number four, step four, be a food snob. What I mean by that is you get to choose what goes into your mouth, and you are allowed to be selective. You do not need to eat everything just because it's there. You can choose the best things that are there. You don't have to eat the food that you can get every day. You can choose the food that's specific and special to that occasion. And so case in point, a lot of office Christmas parties and a lot of parties that I went to this season, there were things that people brought in. Some things were homemade and specific to that season, like homemade fruit mince pies, or somebody brought in some homemade like little roulettes filled with some delicious dip thing. Anyway, all sorts of things. But then some people brought in things that they could buy from, just for ease, people brought in things that they could buy from a supermarket, etc. Or like boxes of chocolates, Ferrero Rocher, let's use that example. And when I was at one of those events, I decided to be a food snob. I chose to eat the things that were homemade, that was something I wouldn't be able to buy from a supermarket, because guess what? I can have Ferrero Rochers any time of the year. All I have to do is go to a supermarket and buy a pack. But I can't have those homemade fruit mince pies. So if I'm going to choose, I'm going to use that as an effective strategy, an effective step to thrive. I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to not have the things that I can buy myself, like store-bought bread or anything that I felt like I can get that and have that any day of the year. I'm going to choose to select the things that I don't get, like my favorite auntie's XYZ, or your mum made this pie and she only makes it at Christmas. Have those things, relish in those things, but maybe you could skip the bread that was store-bought, or maybe you could skip the chocolates that were bought from the supermarket that you can get anytime. They're not even, exciting Christmas chocolates. They're just Lindt balls, which you literally can get any time of year. So it's about being selective. So be a food snob. Your task is to sift through your options and choose the things you really, really want that might not be available to you at all times, especially during the season. And better yet, bring something you really want to share and want to make for others that is your specialty, and it's going to help you stay on track, perhaps because you've made it healthier. They don't even have to know that it's a healthy dish. You can disguise it as a non-healthy dish, but it is a healthy dish. And again, it's something that you've made with love, so therefore it's special, and be a food snob is step number 4. Okay, step number 5, which is one of my really key steps to thriving through this season. So we've done, just as a quick recap, step number 1 to thriving during the season is make the decision of what's your approach going into the season. Step number 2 to thriving is making sure you're not catastrophizing during this season. Step number 3 is making sure you have some strategies in place according to what's in alignment with step number 1, your decision. Step number 4 is be okay to be a food snob, because there's going to be so much thrown at you, and to thrive through this season, choose what you really want and be selective with that. Because one thing I say to my Zero to Thrive program participants, when I try to coach them through the module where we talk about, being selective with your food, quality of your food, and mindful with your meals, is your body is not a bin. I'm going to repeat that. Your body is not a bin, and you do not need to be part of the Clean Plate Club, especially if you didn't even really like it. So you can be selective, be a food snob. All right, and so now we're at step number 5, and that is remember why you're there. Ultimately, food is not just fuel. Food is part of rituals. It's part of celebrations. Food is so much more than fuel. However, it's one component, one small component of why we're getting together. There are lots of factors why we celebrate whatever we celebrate, and being together with family is also one of those key moments. Remember why you're there. It's not about counting macros, I love to say, it's counting memories and creating some memories with family and friends and having a good time and engaging conversation. Why I spend 30 days in my Zero to Thrive program just on becoming mindful with your meals is so important, because it is not just about the meals, it's how you eat. I spend a whole 30 days of that on my program. It is the most underrated value add to your weight loss and maintenance journey and health journey in general, becoming more mindful with your meals. And so I want you to be mindful with your meals during this time. Engaging conversation. After you take a bite, put your fork down, have a conversation. Remember why you're there in the first place. It's not just about the food and the drinks. It's also about connection. Okay, connection, community, and really getting together. Especially in this crazy time, we need that more than ever. So your goal is, if you've got an event coming up and you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable about it, journal some of those emotions. What's coming up for you? I want you to write down some strategies perhaps that will help you through those emotions. You know, is there an auntie that you don't get along with? What can you do? Do you need to give yourself some space? Do you need to leave the house and go for a little bit of a walk and then come back? Do you need to be seated next to somebody so you can engage more in conversation? What can you do to help strategize around why you're there in the first place? And that is to create some connections as well. Food is just one element of the whole experience, okay? So that is step number 5. Remember why you're there, because if you want to thrive, you need to focus on perspective and remember that there's a whole approach to everything. And remembering why you're there, or remembering that when it's not just about the food and the drink, and there's so much to celebrate, especially all the small wins, you know, figuring out that there is so much more to it than just the holiday food is important to helping you thrive, not just in body, but in mind. You guys know by now how much I preach that the weight loss journey is so much about mindset, right? And being strong up here. So it's important to understand that there are greater reasons why you're there as well. Okay. As I said, number 6, we've got 2 more steps left, okay? 2 more steps to thrive. And number 6 is one of my favorites. Don't forget 80-20 rule. I love this part because it's kind of leaning into don't catastrophize. But I, again, want you to see your events as your 20% out of 80% of the year. But I also want you to see your everyday during this season as 80-20. So, for example, you've got a whole bunch of events happening. Where are you? You've got 20% where you might be overeating, but what's happening the 80% of the time around these events? So like I said before, I am trying to still drink my 2 liters of water a day. I'm trying to get in movement most days, even if it is something so simple as a 10-minute walk. It doesn't matter. It's for my mind and my body to get some healing and some, you know, nourishment during this time as well. Perhaps it's me making sure I'm trying to get to bed earlier when I can and getting that 7 to 9 hours of sleep. So it's focusing on, okay, there's the 20% of the events, but I've got time around it. So for example, today I have a big lunch, but I've drunk a liter of water already today. I won't be doing exercise today, but perhaps when I come back at the end of the day, I'll go for a walk with my husband. And tonight's dinner is going to be an ordinary meal, just like any other, because I would have had a lavish lunch. So again, the lunch is my 20%, but what are you doing the rest of the day or week, etc., which is your 80%, and that's what's going to help you maintain or keep you on track a little bit. You don't have to do everything. If I miss my workout today, it doesn't matter, but maybe I still get my water goals and I go to bed at a good time. That's good enough. And maybe I have a healthier dinner tonight or a lighter dinner because I would have a really big lunch. So it's about focusing on, okay, so that's happening. What can I do around that event, which is just one of the things that is in my day? Where am I focusing my 80%? So 80-20 rule applies not only to the holiday season being 20% of your year, focus 80% where it's necessary, most of the other parts of the year, but it's also during the holiday season. Where are you focusing? Your holiday events, so to speak, are 20% of the season. What are you doing 80% of the time? Are you still encouraging your healthy habits? Go back to the November Healthy Habits Challenge. You just did that in November. Remember some of the things that came up for you. I asked you to eat pieces of fruit, prioritize your protein. What about your sleep? I asked you to drink your water, things like that. Meet some step goals. What are you doing 80% of the time? And that is step number 6, because that will help keep your momentum. And when you keep momentum up, your motivation is higher, and then you create more action, which then keeps that momentum high again and creates that motivation again. So if you abandon everything because you have an all or nothing approach and you say, oh my gosh, I could say I have a lunch today, screw it, after that I'm gonna just lie on the couch and I'm gonna have burgers for dinner and I'm not gonna do anything, I'm gonna go to sleep at 1 a.m. I could just have that screw it all or nothing mentality, or I could say, you know what, I'm not gonna control myself during that lunch, I'm gonna eat whatever my heart's desire, but I'm gonna try and create some healthy habits around that. Who's gonna feel better in this situation? That Gina or the other Gina? The one who just throws everything out and says screw it, or this one who says, you know what, I can't control the lunch, but hey, I can control the other things around it that are going to help me keep that momentum high. So don't forget 80-20, everybody. Thoroughly enjoy the events, which are your 20%, and continue with your routine the rest of the time. Routine is so important. I want you to focus 100%, too many percentages, but I want you to focus 100% of your energy on the 80%, okay? That's where it's going to make the biggest impact. So write a list of some healthy habits that you're going to make non-negotiable during the 80% of this holiday season. What does that look like? It doesn't have to be a long list of 20 things. It could be 3 things you focus on throughout the whole holiday season, irrespective of your events, okay? So don't forget 80-20. And everybody, my final step to thriving during this holiday season before we wrap this finale masterclass that you've had with me this morning. You can't fail if you don't quit. You know, you can't screw this up. You can't screw being on a health journey up if you don't quit on yourself. Because even if you're doing 0.00001% of something for yourself, you're still on track because you haven't quit on yourself. So it doesn't matter how big or how many habits you stick with or whatever it takes, or even if you make one choice that's healthier at one event, that means you're still trying. And that means you haven't failed because you haven't quit on yourself. You can only fail if you completely give up. And so I urge you not to do that, okay? So what? You ate more dessert than you'd hoped for. It's okay. Make your next meal better, 1% better. If if you fall down and you're sitting on the ground, do you just wait for someone to just come by and pick you up, or are you going to be the one to get yourself up? Now, obviously, we're not talking about a very severe fall where you're knocked out, but if you are knocked down for the count, then get back up. You can do this. You've got this. One meal does not define your journey, neither does 10 for that matter, okay? Those meals don't define your journey, just like one beat doesn't make an entire song. That's my favorite line. I created it for Up to the Beat to get this point across. It's a whole symphony of beats that create a song. So that one meal, those 5 meals in the greater scheme of things don't define your journey. It's okay if you overate. Give yourself some grace and compassion. Maybe the food was absolutely delicious and you couldn't stop yourself, and that's okay. But can you make some better choices the next meal? Because you're only one meal away from turning things around. You know, we don't need to lean into, oh my gosh, I'm a failure, I've ruined all my progress right now. When in reality, if we just put it in black and white, you simply overate at one meal and you can make changes and improvements at the next one. That's it. Now, I know it sounds simpler and easy, but I know it's not, I know it sounds easy, but I know it is not as simple as that. But if you try to at least obtain that mentality and let this sink in, you may not do it at one meal, but you might do it at the next. You may not be as consistent, but you might start to give yourself some grace and understand that you are trying regardless. So what's really important during this time is to remain non-judgmental of yourself, because guilt blocks growth. If you promote guilt and those feelings of guilt, do you really think by talking yourself down and giving yourself this massive guilt trip that, oh my gosh, you overate, you're a failure, you're hopeless, you have no willpower, you do this. If you talk to anybody like that, do you think that that person's going to go, you know what, I'm going to get up and I'm going to change, or I'm going to do something different? If you berate somebody like that, most likely they're going to go into a little dark hole and corner of the room and cry themselves to sleep. I'd feel terrible. So remind yourself that if you talk to yourself that way, what empowering message are you sending yourself? You're not empowering yourself to do anything. All you're doing is creating a lot of guilt, shame, anxiety around what you did, which is simply overrate something. But you can change, you can improve. You can, instead of being berating, you can be non-judgmental, and you can say, you know what? I overate because you know what? That was damn delicious and I love that. But my next meal, I've prepped a salad, I've got a can of tuna. I'm actually gonna go for a walk because I feel really good. I've got all these calories that have given me so much energy, and I'm gonna move my body because it makes me feel good. So remain this is your task. Everybody, listen up. This is your final point. Remain non-judgmental. And if a situation doesn't go as planned, accept it and just move on. Like literally, you're 1 millisecond away from moving on, getting back on track, making a better choice. That's all. You only need to make one small better choice. The festive season should be thoroughly enjoyed. And remember, as I said, you're only one small step from getting back on track. Okay, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this masterclass. I'm just going to revise those 7 steps to thriving through this holiday season as created by me, Coach Gina. Number 1, make the decision of how you're going to approach the rest of this season. Number 2, don't catastrophize, okay? That is the worst thing that we can do, and we really need to put things into perspective. And if you need to listen back, go back, rewind it after I get off this call. Number 3, strategize. Create some strategies around whatever your decision was in step number 1. Step number 4, be a food snob. It's okay to only create desire for the very, very things you want. Your body is not a bin. You do not need to be part of that clean plate club anymore if you also didn't really like it. Be selective. The more selective you are, the more thorough enjoyment you're going to get out of what you're enjoying as well. Okay? Remember why you're there for step number 5. Step number 6, don't forget 80-20. And that applies to approaching 80-20 as your year, but also during this season. The 20% is your events and the festive fun parts of it, but what are you doing 80% of the time? Focus there, okay? And then step number 7 is the most crucial, because again, you can't fail if you don't quit on yourself, and you're only one small step away from getting back on track at any given moment. Be non-judgmental during this time, because if you are being guilty and berating yourself, you are stopping your growth from moving forward. And all you need to do is keep moving forward. That's all. Okay, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this masterclass. It was a pleasure teaching you and coaching you through some steps and strategies and ways to help you thrive, not simply survive during this holiday season. We don't need to survive. We can thrive if you just make a few small steps to take you through this way, all right? So as I'm off about to go and have a lavish lunch, I'm using all of these steps and these approaches in my silly season, and I hope that this helps you too. Now, if you are somebody who wants coaching with me all along the way, and it is a 4-month program, and you haven't joined already, because the doors open to my Zero to Thrive program, which is launching on January 17th. They opened for a week previously in this tribe, and the doors have since shut. About 50% of the spots are already filled. It's a smaller group because I really give a lot of myself in that 4-month, 16-week program. And so 50% of the spots are already filled up, but I will be reopening the doors again on January 5th. And the people who are on the wait list will get an exclusive bonus. Only the people on the wait list. So when I finish this little masterclass, I'm popping the link to join the waitlist if you want to just check out what that little exclusive offer is for those who haven't already joined. Plus, a few emails are coming your way about a few parts of my story and my personal weight loss journey that I've shared nowhere else. So please, even if you just want to receive those emails because they might help support you and maybe get your mindset right, I would highly recommend joining the waitlist for Zero to Thrive, because you never know what little light bulb moment you might have from some piece of advice that I have to offer as well. So I will pop the link in there after. So in the description of this video will be the Zero to Thrive waitlist link, and I highly recommend you join that right away because the first email is going out tonight. So please join ASAP. And that is all from me, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed your 12 days of Dancemas that I created for you. At the end of it, which is, we've got, I think day 9 has launched. So day 12 is Christmas Eve. You'll have a 40-minute playlist. Now, if you just read the description of each video, there is a playlist there that I've already linked. So all you'd need to do is click that link, and then one video will play after another. And then 24th, you'll be dancing Christmas Day with me, 40 minutes, doing some fun workouts and getting into the holiday festive cheer. I hope you enjoyed the 12 days of Dancemas. And as this might be the last time I speak to you before the new year, I just want to say a heartfelt thank you for continuing to support everything I do and what my team does here at Up to the Beat. Happy holidays from my family, my UTTV family, to all of yours. Stay safe, stay sane, and most importantly, let's keep encouraging each other all along the way. Again, we don't know what this new year will bring us, but what I do know is that the community we have created here is one like no other, and let's keep the vibes high. That's why I called it the Upbeat Tribe. Let's keep it upbeat. I want you guys to just acknowledge each other and really be a good heartfelt support for each other. And I love this space. It's one of my favorite places to hang out online, and I'm honored to be the leader of that space. So thank you so much for listening today, letting me coach you and share a few things, a few strategies that I love to really give you guys a bit of perspective and help you get yourselves out of the funk and get yourselves into thriving. That is seriously my goal. It is my mission, and I'm grateful for you. Happy holidays, everybody. Mwah! Bye for now.